In the bustling heart of Lagos, Susan navigated her day with calm resolve. She was no stranger to hustle. Life had hurled endless challenges her way, and she had learned how to duck and weave with practiced finesse. By morning, Susan was just another friendly face in the market, bargaining over tomatoes and chatting with neighbors who respected her charitable nature. By night, however, she transformed into someone else, someone whose world revolved around neon lights and whispered deals in darkened corners. Her son, Andrew, had no inkling of her double life. He loved and admired his mother for her resilience and kindness, and he believed her small catering business put food on their table. Even when Andrew married Mara, Susan's secret remained buried behind carefully curated excuses. After all, Andrew didn't need to know the kind of work that had kept them afloat for years. Andrew was proud of his beautiful wife, Mara. She was gentle, with a bright smile that warmed the darkest rooms. When Andrew looked at her, he saw a future full of promise and stability, something he had craved growing up amid the constant uncertainty of his mother's finances. For Andrew, Mara was the personification of love and loyalty, and he believed the late-night shifts she worked were nothing more than an honest hustle in a Lagos eatery. But in truth, Mara and Susan shared more than a mutual respect. They had both seen life's harsh realities and needed to provide for their families in whatever way they could. It shocked them both when they discovered they shared the same secret profession. Instead of scorn, their mutual predicament forged an unexpected bond, one that was kept strictly away from Andrew's innocent eyes. Whenever Susan and Mara would slip out at night, they did so under the clever guise of errands or work obligations. Susan claimed she had late-night deliveries for her catering jobs. Mara, meanwhile, spoke of exhausting shifts at a high-end restaurant whose owners demanded secrecy. Yet the truth was far more tangled, hidden behind the dingy, flashing lights of backstreet Lagos clubs. They often traveled together, offering each other emotional support and quiet solidarity. Mara found a confidant in Susan, someone who truly understood the complexities of balancing respectability with survival. Their strange alliance and the secrets they shared made them closer than most mothers and daughters-in-law could ever imagine. Despite this closeness, the tension within Susan was mounting. Lying to her son weighed on her conscience. Each time she looked at Andrew, smiling contentedly over dinner, she felt a prick of guilt. But with bills looming, and with no other way to navigate Lagos' cutthroat economy, she told herself that secrecy was a small price to pay. Mara was equally burdened. She loved Andrew and wanted to be fully honest with him. But she also knew their financial struggles could tear them apart if their secret were exposed. Every time Andrew unwittingly praised her for being a dutiful wife, she fought to quell the rising wave of guilt. Both women knew something had to give eventually, but they hoped they could postpone that reckoning indefinitely. Andrew, for his part, began to notice a subtle shift in the household atmosphere. He couldn't pinpoint it. Perhaps a quick glance between Susan and Mara here, a rushed exit there. But whenever he tried to press Mara for details, she waved him off with a smile and a long day at work's excuse. Susan, too, deflected his questions with her usual grace, letting him believe she was simply tired. Still, Andrew's suspicions only grew stronger. Restlessness gnawed at him. He felt something was wrong but had no tangible proof. When he started flirting with Yetunde, an intriguing colleague at the office, his mind inexplicably wandered. He felt guilty, but also justified. If Mara was keeping secrets, why shouldn't he keep some of his own? One humid night, Andrew hatched a plan to spend time with Yetunde. He told Mara he had to travel for work and wouldn't return until Monday, weaving a tale about an urgent client meeting in another state. Oblivious to the irony, he fabricated a story to hide his indiscretion, a lie to cover the night of excitement he intended to have in the city. That very evening, Andrew and Yetunde slid into a well-known Lagos nightclub, welcomed by pounding music and flashing strobe lights. The neon signs cast ghostly shadows on the crowd, and Yetunde looked up at Andrew with a playful grin, eager for a night of dancing and revelry. Andrew, equally excited, leaned in to order them drinks, never suspecting he was mere moments away from a revelation that would rewrite his reality. As they found a corner table, Andrew scanned the club's interior, taking in the mass of swaying bodies and scattered faces. His eyes landed on a figure near the bar, dressed in a red, form-fitting dress. At first glance, she appeared seductive and confident, attributes Andrew might have admired had he not realized with a jolt that he recognized her stance and distinctive facial features. It was his mother, Susan. Andrew froze. Confusion twisted in his chest, colliding with an immediate sense of betrayal. In his shock, he didn't notice Yetun tugging at his sleeve, urging him to dance. Instead, his gaze drifted to a second familiar face a few steps away from Susan. Mara stood there, similarly clad in revealing attire, scanning the crowd with an air of practiced nonchalance. Susan felt Andrew's eyes before she saw him. For years, she had become attuned to a certain type of gaze: clients, bargoers, passers-by. This stare, though, was different, charged with both intimacy and horror. When she finally locked eyes with her son across the club, it felt like the entire world collapsed. Her heart thumped so violently she thought it might burst from her chest. Mara, meanwhile, spotted Andrew's tall figure and recognized him instantly despite the dim lighting. She sensed Susan's panic and turned to see Andrew standing there in open disbelief, Yetun by his side. Two heartbreaks collided in that moment: Andrew's discovery of their secret and the realization that he, too, had been lying about his whereabouts. Andrew, mouth agape, stood frozen between fury, embarrassment, and disbelief. He felt Yetun's questioning stare on him, but she no longer mattered at that moment. His mind spun, grasping for some rational explanation. Had his mother and wife chosen the same night to come here by coincidence? But the revealing clothes, the gestures toward potential customers, it all added up to one undeniable truth. Seeing her son like that, Susan's maternal instincts took over. She pushed past the shame that threatened to crush her and walked toward Andrew, ignoring the curious glances of other patrons. Mara hesitated, then followed, fear and guilt clinging to every step she took. They stood in a huddle, a family fractured under the glaring neon lights, each of them waiting for someone else to speak first. In that charged silence, Andrew realized he had a choice. He could explode in rage, causing a scene in front of Yetun and the entire club. He could walk away, never acknowledging what he had seen, and let the family tear itself apart in quiet shame. Or he could gather whatever courage he had left and try to face the truth they had all avoided for so long. Though stunned, Andrew felt a measure of compassion beneath his outrage. Here were two women he loved, one his mother, who had sacrificed for him all his life, and the other his wife, who had stood by him through challenges and uncertainty. They had betrayed his trust, but their desperation, too, was visible in their tear-filled eyes. As the club's music pulsed around them, Andrew understood that the next step he took would define their family's future. And so, swallowing the knot in his throat, he drew in a shaky breath, silently prepared to confront the secrets that had bound and broken them all.